and welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be creating two different looks for you. This one right here, which is a little more editorial and to the extreme side. So don't think I'm wearing a ton of orange bronzer. This is actually orange blush taken all across the side of the face, onto the temples. It is more towards the extreme side, which is why I wanted to include yet another look that is considered to be a little more wearable, and both looks are done using the new Modern Renaissance palette from Anastasia. So I also wanted to show you guys how diverse this palette is, how vibrant it is, and versatile. I mean, the other look is completely cool tone, while this one is a lot more towards the warmer side, which when you look at the palette, you would think it's a completely warm palette, but there are some cool toned eyeshadows in here. And the cool thing about this palette is that it is here to stay. I saw on Anastasia's Instagram that this palette, out of all the ones that she has ever released, this one is permanent. I hope she doesn't change her mind on that because it is amazing. So I'll be going over the palette, and I'm also going to try and use some of the other new products that came out in the Anastasia summer collection. So if you guys are interested and want to see how I created these two different looks, keep on watching. So I wanted to show you guys what it is that I'm going to be using for my base first, because it is going to remain the same for both looks. So I'm starting off by priming my skin with the PIXI GLOWTION DAYDEW. This stuff is amazing if you want your skin to look super glowy and illuminated. And then I'm going in with an old favorite of mine to prime my skin, which is the NARS Pore Refining Primer. And the foundation I'm using is the L'Oreal LUMI Cushion Foundation, which also is an amazing drugstore find. A little secret of mine whenever I wear a drugstore foundation is I like to pair it with a high-end concealer. So I'm using the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer to highlight and conceal, and the same goes for the other way around. If I'm using a high-end foundation, sometimes I'll use a low-end concealer. And then to set that concealer in place, I'm using my Laura Mercier translucent powder and pressing it into the skin with a beauty blender, and I'm going to use a large fluffy brush to set the rest of my face. Now that I have set with powder, I can go ahead and bronze/contour using the Balm's Bahama Mama bronzer. I feel like this is a very underrated bronzer. I never hear anyone else talk about it, and it is a completely matte bronzer with a perfect warm, cool tone shade to it. So up next, I'm going to be using the new Anastasia Glow Kit in the shade Sun Dipped, and I'm using the color Summer to highlight my skin. And this glow kit is just like the other two that she previously came out with. I believe it's the same formula. It just looks absolutely beautiful on the skin. The one thing I will say is that there's one color on the bottom left corner, if you guys saw that one. It's like a purpley color. I'm not really sure what I would do with that one, but all the other shades are absolutely stunning. And take note, this is the one thing I am going to switch out in the next look. I'm not going to be using the same pink blush. In the other look, I'm going to be using one that is completely orange. And then finally, I'm just filling in my brows using the Benefit Precisely My Brow Brow Pencil. So now let's move on to look number one. Per the usual, I'm going to be priming my eyes using the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion in the shade Enigma. I'm going to blend it out with my Beauty Blender and then just set the brow bone down to the crease with some powder for easier blending. The first shadow I'm going to be using from the palette is this really light, cool-toned purple, and I'm going to use that as that transition color, and I'm applying it to the crease using a Smith 230 brush. And my apologies for the way the palette looks in this footage. For some reason, I washed it out, so the colors, I promise, are a lot more vibrant in the palette than they actually appear. And I'm also going to be applying that same eyeshadow to the lower lash line using that same brush, but feel free to use a smaller one for a more precise application. So after that, the next color I'm going in with is Cypress Umber, which is like a really dark brown, but it's translating really purple on my skin. And I'm going to apply that to the outer V portion of the eye. And then before going any further, I'm just going to pick up a clean blending brush. This is a Smith 232, and I'm going to blend out these two eyeshadows. I'm also going to be applying that same eyeshadow to the lower lash line, but this time I'm using a small pencil brush from Dose of Colors to press it up against the lower lash line, and again sweeping it back up towards that outer V portion of the eye. And then once again, I'm just blending everything back out. Next, I'm using Antique Bronze, which again translates pretty purple on my skin, but in the palette, they all look very brown to me. I don't know why it was doing this, but I still loved the outcome. And I'm using this as a transition shade, and I'm just packing it onto the center of the lid with a flat shader brush. And to complete that ombre effect on the eye, I'm going in with Tempera, I believe is how you say it, which is a really light, creamy eyeshadow, and I'm applying that to the inner corners. And after that, I'm just going to blend these eyeshadows out before going in with one last color. And finally, the last shadow I'm going to be using from this palette is Vermeer, which is a pretty frosty eyeshadow, and I'm going to apply that to the inner corners for a little highlight. I felt like this look could use a winged liner, so I went ahead and added that using the Tarte CLAYPOT eyeliner. And I'm also going in with the new Anastasia eyeliner, which was a part of the summer launch, to fill in the waterline. I have to wear this one a couple more times to really give a full review, but so far I think it's really pigmented, but I had a little difficulty applying it to the waterline, but I can tell that if you were to tightline with it, it probably wouldn't transfer. So just let me wear it a couple more times before I give you a full review. So for now, I'm just gonna add some mascara, some false lashes, and a lip, and look number 1 is done. Moving on to look number 2 here, the one that is more editorial, and I promise you guys, even though this one looks a little crazier, it is so much easier than the other look. I find a lot of editorial looks to be a lot easier because you're basically just splashing a ton of color onto your face or someone else's. So to start off this look, I already primed the eyes with that same Urban Decay primer, but this time around, the first color I'm going in with is Tempera, the light creamy eyeshadow, and I'm applying that to the inner corners of the eyes. I started off with this color to make sure that it stays vibrant throughout the entire application versus applying it last. And then the next color I'm going in with is Venetian Red, and this really shows off how extremely pigmented this palette is. I mean, just look at this eyeshadow going on the lid. I'm just packing it on using a Smith 247. Then I'm going to blend out that eyeshadow with Love Letter, which is more of a fuchsia. Even though it looks pretty similar to Venetian Red, it is a different tone. And I'm going to blend this into the crease using that same Smith 247 brush. To add a little more color, I'm going in with Rilgar. I know I'm probably butchering the name of these shadows, guys, but I'm trying. And I'm applying this one right along the edges of that other eyeshadow using a Smith 232. I started on the inner part of the eye, right underneath the brow, and then I'm blending it outwards. And I'm really gonna go crazy with this color. Just wait. I wanted the eyes to look grungy yet pretty at the same time, so I'm mixing in Raw Sienna, which is a perfect rusty colored brown, in with Rilgar and then applying that to the lower lash line. I'm even going crazy with it towards the inner part of the eye. Normally you wouldn't apply shadow there because it can make you look like you have a black eye, but for this look, I'm just going for it. And I'm sticking to using that same Smith 232 brush. No need to use a smaller brush for this because I'm trying to go for an extremely smoked out look. And believe it or not, to complete the eyes, I'm just going in with Love Letter one last time and applying that really close to the lower lash line to really complete and connect the look of the eyeshadows. And after that, I'm just smoking it out with that same Smith 232 brush. And then to further soften out the edges, I'm going to use a Sigma E40 brush. And to be completely honest with you guys, I actually really like the way this looks as is and would wear it out. but we are going for more of an editorial look. So for that, I'm grabbing my Becca Shimmering Blush in Tiger Lily, and I'm gonna apply it to the temples and the cheeks in a really intense way. So I'm using that same really large fluffy brush I used to set my face with powder, and I'm just going ham, H-A-M, with the blush. Basically, just think of a giant C along the side of your face, and also feel free to apply the blush on top of the eyeshadow in your brow. Trust me, it's gonna look great when you're done. To complete this look, all I'm going to do is set my brows with some clear brow gel. I'm making them a little more bushy than normal for that editorial look. I'm using some mascara on the upper and lower lashes, but skipping out on falsies. And then for a lip, I'm using Berry Bossy by Maybelline. Alright guys, that completes this tutorial. Let me know in the comment section below if you want to see more editorial type of looks here on my channel. Maybe every once in a while and not make it such a focus, because I know they're more for fun and more so entertaining to watch, not necessarily something that you would wear. But hey, if you would wear this, let me know also in the comment section down below. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, so I see you in the next one. Bye guys.